Look at all these books. What the heck am I going to do with all these here books? Yeah. Can't possibly read all of them tonight, can I? Well, I could give it a shot. That's what I could do. Give it a shot. Why not? Wait a minute. I got to rearrange this right here. Well, I'll be there in a second, okay? I just want to bring this. I just want to bring that down. Yeah, because you never know. Might need that. Might need some props later on. Oh, look at the time. Oh, look at the time. If I didn't know I better, I would say, it's Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. The day that time forgot. Well, here we are, folks. Yeah, things look a little different here. What's different? What's different? Everything's different. I'm supposed to be over there. Supposed to be facing that way. Good evening. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Welcome to the inaugural not treehouse. This is the poetry break, ladies and gentlemen. Not to be confused with the treehouse, which was another era, another time, another epic, another identity, perhaps. I don't know. This is what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to figure out who is this guy. Who is this guy? And I'll tell you why. I'm having some trouble playing the guitar. And I've been having trouble for the last year or so, as some of you who've been, regular attendees of the Treehouse know that I've had some issues with the hands. Well, since I signed off in December, things have been getting a little more hairy, shall we say, a little hairier. And so I've had to kind of rethink some things. I'm in the market. I'm looking for, I'm hoping to line up a new physical therapist here this coming week. And the physical therapy will be working on the hands and arms. My neurologist, I've been to see my neurologist, and she says that she thinks I've got carpal tunnel in both wrists, which would explain the pain that I'm having, but not so much the loss of sensation and the loss of fine motor skills. So what I've been finding recently is that I can play like two songs. I can play two songs and really kill it, but it hurts, The third song, it really hurts. By the end of the third song, things are starting to get a little shaky. Fourth song, sorry, everything's sliding off the rails. And that's about as much as I can do. Now, in the last couple of days, I haven't even been able to make it through one song. So this is real. This is happening. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what it means. And so tonight is about poetry. And we're probably going to go with like 30 minutes instead of an hour. I was thinking originally that I would do poetry and then I would do a little treehouse break in the middle of the poetry break. But then the last couple of days, I haven't been able to do that. But Woody is standing by. Woody is with me. Woody and I have talked all the way through this. Woody understands the situation, realizes that there's nothing personal against him. So, and I got my poetry case open back there. That is my poetry case, separate and distinct from any guitar cases that I've got. It's strictly a poetry case. And so it's open, and Woody is there to just showing support. And I think that's a fantastic thing. Who else we got here? Kim Nelson's in the house. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Holly. Thanks to the Lame Cat Ranchers for being here tonight. Now, I didn't publicize this program very much. Not as much as I used to publicize the Treehouse, because you know why? I recognize that the audience for poetry is probably not as big as the audience for music is. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who's into this. And I want everybody out there, devotees of the Treehouse, to understand that I get that. And if poetry's not your thing, I don't expect you to show up to just to because you're my friend. I mean, it's a good reason. Don't get me wrong. But I would understand completely. I understand it's always been true that the audience for poetry is not as big as the audience for music. But, I still got to say, thanks, Ma. Thanks, Ma, for the life, I turned 64 in February, and I always told myself when I was a young man and wanted to do the music thing all the time and make my living at it that when I got old and got tired of doing that, then I would start doing poetry. Well, maybe we're at that point, maybe not. Like I say, I am still working at this, and I will continue to update you as it happens. But since Lori's here, Lori, you might be wondering, I'm not doing the whole litany of cups. I'm just doing a cup of the week, right? I had to say thanks to my mom because she's my mom, and well, she might show up every week. But Lori, I got a nice shot of Bushmills Irish whiskey here. And I thought, since I don't have to worry about carrying a tune so much tonight, here we go. Oh, that's smooth. That is smooth. Thank you, Lori, for the cup. And you might be some odd noises as I'm setting cups down. I have a new microphone sitting right here on my desktop, not to be confused with Mr. Microphone, who is our mascot here in the greater Vitamin Audio Studios. This was sculpted for me by my stepfather, Richard Strepp, rest in peace. Back when I was working in radio in Chelan, this showed up at my doorstep one time and hand-carved Mr. Microphone with the snarly faces. If you can look really closely, it's even got a little sticker right there on the Hawaiian shirt that says Bill, right there. This guy has traveled many miles with me and through many hours of broadcasts, so wanted to make that part of the poetry break too, because who knows? Who knows what's next? I'll tell you what's next. How about a poem? We're going to start with W.S.Merwin from his Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Shadow of Sirius, published by Copper Canyon Press right up the street in Port Townsend. And I wanted to start with this one. Rainlight. All day the stars watch from long ago. My mother said, I am going now. When you are alone, you will be all right. Whether or not you know you will. No. Whether or not you know, whether or not you know, you will know. Look at the old house in the dawn rain. All the flowers are forms of water. The sun reminds them through a white cloud, touches the patchwork spread on the hill, the washed colors of the afterlife that lived there long before you were born. See how they wake without a question, even though the whole world is burning. W.S.Merwin, our invocation tonight. Then we're going to move to Gary Snyder. Gary Snyder. This is from No Nature, which is a new and selected poems that came out 30 years ago. I remember when this book was brand new. I had all the books leading up to it, and I had to have this one because it had some new poems in it. It had some new poems in it, and I wanted the new poems. It was only about, where is it? Where does it start? It's only about this much of the book is new stuff, but I bought the book because I wanted the new stuff. This is called Building, and you have to understand, I understand the privilege that allows me to be a student of poetry as a 64-year-old man, and I want you to know that I appreciate that privilege very much. This is called Building. We started our house midway through the Cultural Revolution, the Vietnam War, Cambodia in our ears, tear gas in Berkeley. Boys in overalls with frightened eyes, long matted hair, ran from the police. We peeled trees, drilled boulders, dug sumps, took sweat baths together. That house finished, we went on, built a schoolhouse with 100 wheelbarrows, held seminars on California Paleo-Indians during lunch. We brazed the Cho dynasty form of the character Mu on the blacksmith brackets of the ceiling of the lodge, buried a 5-pronged vajra between the school buildings while praying and offering tobacco. Those buildings were destroyed by a fire, a pale copy rebuilt by insurance. 10 years later, we gathered at the edge of the meadow. The Cultural Revolution is over. Hair is short. The industry calls the shots in the people's forests. Single mothers go back to college to become lawyers. Blowing the conch, shaking the staff rings, we opened work on a hall. 40 people Women carpenters, child labor, pounding nails, screw down the core 10 roofing and shape the beams with a planer. The building is done in 3 weeks. We fill it with flowers and friends and open it up. Now, in the year of the Persian Gulf, of lies and crimes in the government held up as virtues, this dance with matter goes on. Our buildings are solid, to live, to teach, to sit, to know for sure the sound of a bell. This is history. This is outside of history. Buildings are built in the moment. They are constantly wet from the pool that renews all things, naked and gleaming. The moon moves through her 28 nights. Wet years and dry years pass. Sharp tools, good design. Building by Gary Snyder. We'll put the finished ones over here. See, I want you, now that I'm here, I want you to notice this right here. This, welcome to the 80s. We have our own email address here at the Poetry Break. poetrybreak22@gmail.com. What does it mean? I'll tell you what it means, people. It means I want to hear from you. If you have a favorite poem that you would like read on the show, if you have a favorite poet that you would like me to look into that I haven't looked into, and, you know, I recognize my poets came from my generation, and they have... Did you hear something? Did you hear is there a note? There must be some kind of a... It's the hand, ladies and gentlemen, the hand. Hello, hand. The hand is here. The hand. I didn't know if the hand would show up. Well, you know, because things are different. Things are different. You know, I figured the hand might kick me to the curb or something. Theo! Theo from the Couth Buzzard is in the house. Hello, Theo. Theo, I owe you a lot, my friend. Kathy and Loris are here. Katrina. Lori Trout and Jason. Yeah, I got the gas, Jason. I got the gas. What can I tell you? Cindy Clark is in the house. Hey, Cindy. Holly and Kim, the Lame Cat Ranch. Rick Lewis. Hey, Rick. How you doing, man? Glad you're here. Glad you are here. 11 poetry lovers in the house. You know, that's perfect. That is perfect. That's just enough. It really is. Now, getting back to this, I got to get used to this again. No, this email address thing. Favorite poet, favorite poem. If you've written something, I'm going to be reading some stuff of mine that is like unrevised. I've been doing this thing here recently since I've been having the problem with my hands. I've realized that I can type pretty well. So, Shazam. So you have to understand, this is my writing table right here. If you look under this table that I'm sitting in front of, here's my notebook. It sits right here every day. This is where I do my writing. And this way, if I'm feeling inspired, I can just spin around and start typing. Yeah. So I've been doing a fair amount of typing. I do my morning page handwritten in the notebook. And in the afternoon, I've been spinning around and I've been typing. And I do the typing just like I do the handwriting. I just sit down, blank piece of paper in there, and just go until I stop. You know? And seeing as how I've been dealing with some issues of decrepitude, which I think to some degree we all are, and I think the more we talk about it, the better we'll all feel about it, knowing that we're not alone. And because of that, I've titled this, I've been typing the pages, and I just pull them out of the typewriter and I stick them into this manila folder. And I keep this manila folder right over here. And the title on the manila folder is... Now that may be too gender specific for some people, and I really can't apologize for it because I only know about my experience, and I'm sorry, but I am and was raised, I was born in the Eisenhower administration, and I can't help it. I'm learning, I'm adapting, I'm growing. Don't worry. I'm trying my best to keep up. But my personal references, old man is what I know. Okay? So forgive me that. Forgive me that one thing, because it is what it is. So I've picked out a few of these. I thought I'll just read them. What the heck? And because I want this to be casual. I want new frontiers of casualness here in the poetry break, so that some of you who might be writing something and you'd be willing to share, if you want me to read it, I'll do it. I will. Just all you got to do, send it to this email address right here. Yeah. You can't put it over in the comments underneath the show, because it's too hard to decipher and to pull out and stuff like that. Let's make this email address where we talk to each other. You can offer words of encouragement. You can tell me to shut the hell up. You can say, Bill, this is the biggest waste of time I've ever had to participate in. You'll never see me again. I'm sorry we were ever friends. that kind of thing. Because I get a lot of that anyway. So this is what they look like. They're just typewritten pages. I'm not a great typist. I'm an adequate typist. But minimal revision, okay? Oldmanhood, it's called. I wrote a couple of pages on my friend Ramu's birthday. Ray Robertson had his birthday on April 1st. So, here's to Ramu. I also want to wish my cousin Eric Landerholm a happy birthday. I missed your birthday. I'm sorry, Eric. I meant to call you. Didn't happen. I'm sorry. I owe you a call. So, like any good apprenticeship, the key is to keep going. You can't get bogged down in the narrow trenches of sadness. It's too rich and varied and all over the place here in Oldmanhood. You have to sweep it up each morning and put it in that bin by the door. Now, it'll continue to fall around you like snow all day, every day, but you learn to dress for it, learn to respect the hazards it places in your way, and finally, how to coexist with it, as if it were a neighbor with whom you share a mutual need and mutual help. Each of you with your seasonal hands, your inborn skills and charms, and a few good jokes, not too dirty. You are partners in a pride of place. Neighbors learn to look past beliefs and opinions into the deeper commonalities. This is how a world keeps spinning. This is the lesson we must leave with our children or to any who come to us seeking knowledge. The legacy of Oldmanhood, which comes to claim us all. Nothing like it since the fall, but here we get to blossom anew. Another view of the womb we fall back into, when the garden remembers its green, and we are led into all that is unseen from the shelter of youth. So you got to get a sense of where I'm going with this. You want me to read it again? Well, let me read this one, then I'll read that one. Yeah. The day Oldmanhood came to claim me was roughly 6 years ago, in a March like this one, days of ragged wind and sideways rain giving way to sunlight in the bursting buds. The neurologist wanted to report on my MRI and said the words multiple sclerosis. When I came back to the car, there he stood, Oldmanhood come to claim me, take me back to the home that would never be the same. Thereafter it was all anger and bandages, pucker and puke. Oldmanhood says he is a teacher, says he's got new shoes and 1,000 exercises to teach from the texts of wisdom. Says I've earned the right to ride along and learn where others have chosen to take the easy chair out. This was a choice worth making, but I was too angry to care, so I asked if he would ask again tomorrow. And he agreed. I had to tell my people I'd never be the same. I had to break a sadness across the hood of my ornaments, the cradle in my dreams. This was more of any world I'd ever seen. I could say I wasn't ready, but that was only foolish. I could say please spare the family, but that fish was mostly fried. If I didn't take the bullet train, they'd never know I tried. That's the day I started my apprenticeship with Oldmanhood. It's been a challenging 6 years, 6 years of love and loss. If I'm losing my hands, that's a sad scene, a black coverlet. Don't know any grimmer it can get, but it's early days yet. See where I'm going with this? It's a little crazy, huh? So like any good apprenticeship, the key is to keep going. You can't get bogged down in the narrow trenches of sadness. It's too rich and varied and all over the place here in Oldmanhood. You have to sweep it up each morning and put it in that bin by the door. Now, it will continue to fall around you like snow all day, every day. But you learn to dress for it. Learn to respect the hazards it places in your way. And finally, how to coexist with it, as if it were a neighbor with whom you share a mutual need and a mutual help. Each of you with your seasonal hands, your inborn skills and charms, and a few good jokes, not too dirty. You are partners in a pride of place. Neighbors learn to look past beliefs and opinions into the deeper commonalities. This is how a world keeps spinning. This is the lesson we must leave with our children or to any who come to us seeking knowledge. The legacy of Oldmanhood, which comes to claim us all. Nothing like it since the fall, but here we get to blossom anew, another view of the womb we fall back into, when the garden remembers its green, and we are led into all that is unseen from the shelter of youth. Oldmanhood, man. Oldmanhood. I got a couple more of these for you. Got a couple more. Let's see. Oldmanhood strikes again. My hands feel fine on the keys, as if they belong here. It's never really felt this good before, so I take that as a sign. I am under no pressure to perform or make myself look good for anyone but my wife, whose standards seem delightfully low, while she maintains a level of beauty I can't help but celebrate all the way into my dreams. Yes, sometimes I think about us getting old and not being able to see the keys or move my hands to work them. So then I think about something else, like the trees on my morning walk, or the crows that follow along, passing their observational batons to each other as I cross from territory to territory. These are the strings of my new songs. These are the words that need saying to my fellow elders in our changed states we've been taught to call infirmities. Let us make up new terms and make those youngsters eat their mortal words while we break ground on building our easy chairs of wisdom and person-to-person communication. Let's leave them in our dust, thinking dust is all we are. We don't need them to approve of us. We shine where they can't even see the light. There you go. There's Old Man. See, I don't mean this to be sad. You could think that it's going to be sad, but my idea with this is to not make it sad. Yeah? Let's see. Where's that one? Yeah. One more of these, okay? I want to swing like those jazz cats. Okay, sorry. This one's a little, deliberate. I want to swing like those jazz cats. Okay. I want to swing like those jazz cats sung about in the 40s and 50s, where my typewriter is the voice of pain and renewal flying in from the south like a morning wind. I take no solos, but rather sit back and listen to the masters while holding down the beat. I don't need to wander into the weeds to find the strains that explain it all. I just ride along in the rumble seat and try not to short-sheet the bed. All my happiness flows from music, even if the music is all in the words. And if the words are honest and true, they get through from me to you, and everything turns a heavenly blue, like the crisp sky of a March morning. Sometimes she walks with me, and there is nothing more happy than us two, calming the harsh skies with our ever-expanding love. Then I swing like those jazz cats. Yeah, baby. Oldmanhood now. This has become, I don't want to call it a project, because if I call it a project, then I'll start thinking too much. The key with writing, for me, is not to think about it, just to write it. Just to get the words down on the page. And, later if you go back and reread it, then you can think about what you wrote. But don't think about it while you're writing. So if anybody wants to play around with that kind of thing and send me what you come up with, you can send it right here. poetrybreak22@gmail.com. Let me get this out of the way here. Let me tuck this down here in the corner where it belongs. Okay? I want to leave it there because I want us to know that we can reach each other, because I'll answer. I'll answer back. Yeah, if you want to know how to support the Poetry Break, that's the place to find out. Now, a couple of more things here, because I'm going to leave you. This is not going to be a long show. Let me just make sure. Monica Halverstadt, Joyce Hyatt, hey, you guys. Great to see you guys. You know, you should come even just to say hi to each other. You know, let me tell you, if I could play for you, I would. And if I can, I will. Okay? I'll throw in a couple of songs in the middle or something, at least, if I can. But right now, I can't. Should have brought 2 shots. What can I say? Oldmanhood. It's happening. I wish it were otherwise. You know, I have been writing songs for 50 years. I've always been the guy with the guitar, you know? So it's not easy to not be the guy with the guitar anymore, you know? And I don't know if that's the new reality that I'm going to have to get used to or not. But in the meantime, William Carlos Williams. Now, this book right here has been sitting on my bookshelf fully 40 years, maybe longer. I first started getting into contemporary poetry in January of 1978. Now, this wasn't one of the first books I got, but I've still got those books. This one right here. Wait a minute. This one. I'm pretty sure. This is one of the first books of contemporary poetry that wasn't like Rod McEwen or Robert Service or any of those poetry books that you would find, James Kavanaugh, that you'd find on the bottom shelf, the far back corner of the Walden books or the B. Dalton. You know, that's where the poetry was relegated when I was that age. Yeah, but Richard Hugo, January 1978. This is one of them. I've got the rest of them here somewhere too. It was a class called The Literature of the Northwest, taught at Whitworth College by Phil Eaton. Phil Eaton, who became the president of Seattle Pacific University for many years and is now enjoying a well-deserved retirement with his wife Sharon. He's got great kids. I knew them all back in the day. I knew Phil Eaton when he was 25 years younger than I am now. Shoot me. So William Carlos Williams, sitting on my shelf for at least 40 years. And this is the truth with poetry. Some of these books have been sitting here for all this time, and I pull them out every 4 or 5 years. I hope I should be able to. And it just doesn't do anything for me. So I put it back on the shelf. So Mr. Williams has been seasoning on my shelf long enough for it to have yellowed. I bought this book new, and if you want to know how old it is, the price on the back is $1.75. This softcover book would cost you at least $18 now. It's $1.75 when I bought it. So one William Carlos Williams poem, because I pulled this out like 3 weeks ago, opened it, it fell open to this poem, and I was like, William Carlos Williams! Finally! After all these years! This is called Rain. You'd have to figure I'd fall into a poem like that. It's one of my favorite topics. As the rain falls, so does your love bathe every open object of the world, and houses the priceless dry rooms of illicit love, where we live, hear the wash of the rain. There, paintings and fine metalware, woven stuffs, all the whorishness of our delight, sees from its window the spring wash of your love, the falling rain. The trees are become beasts, fresh risen from the sea. Water trickles from the crevices of their hides. So my life is spent to keep out love, with which she rains upon the world of spring. Drips, so spreads the words far apart to let in her love. And running in between the drops, the rain is a kind physician, the rain of her thoughts over the ocean everywhere, walking with invisible swift feet over the helpless waves. Unworldly love that has no hope of the world and that cannot change the world to its delight. The rain falls upon the earth, and grass and flowers come perfectly into form from its liquid clearness. But love is unworldly, and nothing comes of it but love, following and falling endlessly from her thoughts. Rain by William Carlos Williams. You know, the number of poets that I appreciate who have cited William Carlos Williams as a prime inspiration made me think, oh, I should be able to get into William Carlos Williams, but until about 3 weeks ago, he just didn't speak to me. So I'll be continuing to investigate Mr. Williams, okay? One more for you. One more, okay? Let me see who else is here. Joyce, Katrina, Holly, Monica, Lori. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. Now, like I said at the beginning, I didn't publicize this very much, and I may not. I want the people who really like poetry to come. So if you're not a big fan of poetry, you're excused. Believe me, I will not think less of you. But if you are a fan of poetry, share this to your Facebook page. Let other people know. Let people you know who love poetry know that this exists. And then we'll find our new audience. What do you say? And then when the Treehouse concert comes back, it'll be a whole other thing again. What do you say? Okay? All right. Finally, tonight, from the book that I love, 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 called Priest Turned Therapist Treats Fear of God. by Tony Hoagland. I just love this book. I wanted to read this one because what's been happening lately, I've been tempted to feel sorry for myself. Tempted. I've spent many hours feeling sorry for myself during these last months because, you know, it's only been the last 6 years. I think in the last 6 years I've enjoyed playing the guitar and singing more than I ever have before. I've always loved it. Believe me, it's been my primary creative joy, writing songs and singing them for people. So the idea that I can't play the guitar anymore, it feels unfair, and I've been angry, and I've been pissed, and I've been behaving badly. So there's a lot to think about. But we go through these passages, don't we, in our lives? All of us do. You know, if it ain't one thing, it's two, as they say. They certainly don't make it easy to be old around this place, do they? No. Well, we're learning, aren't we? If we stick together, maybe we'll make it. What do you say? This is called The Classics. Try not to make too much of suffering. Try not to make it into a profession. Your story is like the others. You kissed and you cried. The tears dried slowly on your face like words upon a page, and the moon rose dripping from the sea like an old bronze shield. Remember what you promised in July, never to forget the smell of horses in the barn, or the color of grandfather's sweater, or the little white flower called mother's milk, which grew outside the kitchen. You bent to sniff it, and when you stood, you had that old, bewildering sensation of having just arrived on Earth, without a history or a name, on some mission secret even to yourself. Pain and pleasure were the ways you learned to walk and talk, and you liked them both as you wandered through your many destinations. And the stars were like books on a very high shelf, telling ancient stories of voyages and battle, of love and tribulation, the ones they call the classics. You see? I'm going to read that one again. Tony Hoagland, priest turned therapist, treats fear of God. The title says it all, people. Don't you think? The classics. Try not to make too much of suffering. Try not to make it into a profession. Your story is like the others. You kissed and you cried. The tears dried slowly on your face like words upon a page, and the moon rose dripping from the sea like an old bronze shield. Remember what you promised in July, never to forget the smell of horses in the barn, or the color of grandfather's sweater, or the the little white flower called mother's milk, which grew outside the kitchen. You bent to sniff it, and when you stood, you had that old, bewildering sensation of having just arrived on Earth, without a history or a name, on some mission secret even to yourself. Pain and pleasure were the ways you learned to walk and talk, and you liked them both as you wandered through your many destinations. And the stars were like books on a very high shelf, telling ancient stories of voyages and battle, of love and tribulation, the ones they call the classics. Well, that's what we are all becoming, isn't it? We're all becoming the classics. So I'm serious about this. Let me get it up here. I'm serious about this email address, okay? I know it's like welcome to the 80s. It's an email address. You know, I could do a Twitter handle. I could have an Instagram thing. I could be doing TikTok. I could be doing Yammer Jammer. I could be doing Hooga Booga. I could be doing Whittly Pittity. I could be, but I'm not. I'm old school. So I'm going old school. People know how to do an email, right? You know how to write an email. Send me a poem that you love, and I'll read it. Send me a message that you'd like me to share with the group, and I'll read it. If you want to send me something you don't want read on the air, just say, not for broadcast, or something to that effect. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm likely to read it, you know? I would like there to be more communication between us, and that we can all be part of it together, right? There's even a possibility we might have some guests on the show someday. It depends on if it catches on. And it has to catch on right in here first. It has to catch on here, which is why I didn't publicize this one much. All right? Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for giving this a try, and I hope you'll try it again. Poetry is something that I have been fascinated with my whole life. Longer. I've been writing poems longer than I've been writing songs. Can't say that much. Can't say that about too many things. Well, I've been breathing. Let's say I've been breathing longer. And eating. And defecating. Yes, I've been doing that longer too. I'll make a list. We'll share it next time. Okay? It'll be great. You make one too. Send it to me. In the email. Right. That's the email. Thanks, you guys. Have a poetic week. See you next time. Okay. Bye-bye.